Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 6 of the Joshi Dreamcast here on Fightful Overbooked. I'm with Karen Peterson of Post Wrestling, as you can see, of course, if you're watching the video. Very excited to have you on. We've worked on this for a while now, and we're here to talk about, the best thing going, the 5-star Grand Prix, TJPW Tokyo Princess Cup, and we're going to start off with a very serious topic as well, which is very exciting. But Karen, how are you doing on this fine evening?
I am absolutely wonderful, Scott. I am so excited to be here.
That's what I love to hear, because as anytime I have someone on to talk Joshi, it's like, okay, this is just going to be like the easiest conversation of my life. I've only talked to you for maybe 10 minutes before we started recording, and I feel like I've known you forever. That's what I think a lot of Joshi fans, creators, it all comes together. But that serious topic I talked about, we're gonna get right into it. We're going to talk about the Iwgp Women's Championship, which was announced 2 weeks ago now.
About 2 weeks ago on Friday.
Yeah. So that happened right after this, the last episode of this released, and it's a big one. It's as big announcement as you could have gotten from the New Japan Stardom Bushiroad, combination there. And it has a lot of Joshi fans, going back and forth. How do they feel? Will this hurt the world of Stardom and Wonder of Stardom titles? Stardom's Twitter account tells me no. It sounds like it's going to be a title for the US and New Japan shows. That is the plan. I don't have the exact rundown of like exactly what they said, but that's the plan, to get Stardom wrestlers to the US, to get them on the big New Japan shows. So Wrestle Kingdom, there's a defense. That might be the first defense in a New Japan show. And of course, the winner will be crowned at the New Japan Stardom event. All of this is so exciting. Or is it not? That's the question we have here. So Karen,
Yes.
How are you feeling about the IWGP Women's Championship?
When I woke up that Friday morning, it felt like Christmas morning, but at the same time, it felt like Black Friday morning at the same time. I was excited. I was cautiously optimistic. I was a bit terrified. It was a whole lot of feelings about what this could mean. And it's one of those things where I have don't want to say I have an advantage, but I'm able to see the Japanese fans' reactions to a lot of the content that's getting put out by New Japan and Stardom. Yeah. And while the Western fans are rejoicing and like, yes, finally, let's take our victory laps. It's happening. Some of the Japanese fans are very much like, I don't know if this is gonna work, because in Japan, there are it's like, I look at the Japan scene in Japan as a Venn diagram when it comes to Stardom and New Japan. You've got your Stardom fans that love Stardom and only Stardom. You've got your New Japan fans that love New Japan and only New Japan New Japan things. And then there's that little crossover in the middle. The Western fans tend to be a little more like closer to like completing the circle, but the Japanese fans, there tends to be a little bit more of a separation. And there's pushback on both sides because of concerns about it. Where will this belt fall in the hierarchy of the main Stardom belts, like the Wonder and the World and everything else? And then of course on the other side, it's like, well, why are they just taking a women's belt and throwing the IWGP name on it? Why is Stardom all of a sudden riding her big brother's coattails and getting getting a foot up on everything? So it's a very complicated situation. People are trying to look at it as like, well, this is great because with Forbidden Door, there was a lot of pushback that there was no women's match on the show, even though Stardom was running their own show, standalone show the same day. So it's one of those things, like, I understand the reasoning behind it. I'm cautiously optimistic about it.
Yeah.
But sometimes when I think about how sometimes the juniors are booked in New Japan and how the tag teams are booked in New Japan, I start getting, my anxiety starts flaring up, because I want everybody to succeed. I'm just, with as vague as the details are about it right now, and the very limited information about historic crossover in November, I don't know I can't feel all the feelings right now, because it's too many feelings about this very important topic that impacts the Joshi scene as a whole, especially with Stardom.
Yeah. So I was awake when the announcement happened. which might be crazy on my end, but that's just how
Are you
that's
a
how I
night
work at this
owl?
time. Oh, big time. I
Oh
work
yeah.
nights, so
See,
it
I'm
has
an
to
early
happen.
bird, so like this all happened. It was like while you were sleeping, while I was sleeping,
Yeah.
it hit the fan, as it were.
Yeah. So real time reaction was crazy. I even did like the first like real space. I don't really use spaces, but jumped right into space. Had a bunch of people in to talk about Stardom fans, Western Stardom fans to be exact. That's very important. And there are some that are like that. Are like, I don't know, because they're Stardom fans. They're not New Japan fans, or they were this is my favorite one. They were New Japan fans, and then the pandemic happened. They're like, okay, because I know some people did kind of fade back a
Yeah.
little bit because it's been tough for New Japan, but I still think they've been great in a lot of other ways because they have great matches every show they do. But thinking about it, right, and how we're talking about it here, it's like, okay, will they be treated like the junior division? Will they be treated like the tag team division? From what we know, they won't be on house shows, right? They won't be on. That's what, at least that's what it kind of sounds like. That's the crazy thing. Because
Now,
I
are you talking
remember
about house shows in Japan or house shows abroad? Because that's the other thing.
Japan.
Okay.
It's because it sounds like they'll be on major New Japan pay-per-views. So a
Yeah.
Wrestle Kingdom, Dominion, which we've already seen. They've had Stardom matches on there. Wrestle Grand Slam last year. But they will be on house shows, New Japan Strong. And that's where this, I think the point of this title is to get a Stardom or 2 or 3. Then that's the other question we're playing here with. How many Stardom wrestlers are you going to go over? Does Stardom's real product get affected by this? It's the game we go back and forth on. But as we've seen, Hikaru Shida, for example, perfect person to pop up. She's someone that goes back and forth more than anyone. She was on Dark this past week with going against Emi Sakura, and then she was on an Ice Ribbon show the weekend before that. So like, travel is a lot easier now, obviously, but it's like
absolutely.
we sit here and we're just like, all right, let's take a step back. Let's let's get more details
Yes.
before we get excited or concerned, because I think cautiously optimistic is the perfect way to go at this. My favorite part of this is that it's probably going to main event historic crossover. That's probably my favorite part of it, is that, but because Kadani, but it might not also, because Kadani, is he the Bushiroad president?
He is the owner of Bushiroad International.
Yes.
Yeah.
He said he wants Stardom to main event that show. So in my head, it's like, so you want that title to main event the show, or do you not? Like that's the game we're playing here.
And that's where it gets so tricky, because it's, you have New Japan on one hand with 50 years of history. You got Stardom on the other with just under 12.
Yeah.
You're making, and have you seen the ticket prices for that show?
I did when they opened.
Oh my god, no! They've only listed them on the Japanese version of the New Japan website, and they are obscene. I mean,
really?
for the prices they're charging, the special present they're getting, it better be either a take home chair or something, because it's probably 2 to 3 times the cost Wrestle Kingdom was per seat. Like, it's stupidly expensive.
That's crazy.
And it's one of those things where they made this whole big to-do when they announced the show about having, mixed tag matches. And it's like, are you going to have, and I hate to put it this way, are you going to have like Okada and Utami possibly in one corner against Tanahashi and Mayu in the other? But that be your your semi-main event.
Yeah, right.
Like, it's one of those things that you have. It's great that we have this title, because I know a lot of people want it. I've wanted it, but it's one of those things where I even though I was like, I want it. Do I want it? Do I want it or not want it? I don't know. I kind of want it both ways.
Yeah.
But it's you have to not just take what Kadani wants.
Right.
He's the man with the pockets. He's the one paying for everything. But at the same time, it's how will the New Japan roster feel about it? How will the Stardom roster feel about it? And when it comes to them coming to the States, is it going to be like, is it gonna be only the New Japan Strong, like every New Japan Strong taping, like every month they're gonna send someone or a pair of someone's or a couple of someone's, or is it every time New Japan does a big show in the United States? Because we don't have one every single month. It's like every 3 months we get one, but in between there's like a batch taping in LA, a batch taping in Chicago. So it's one of those things like are we gonna get the start like some Stardom people like monthly, or is it like, or is it every 3 months? And it's you know, they keep talking about that rumored UK show in it'll be October, but that's before historic crossover. But are they, because Rev Pro has women on the roster, are they going to consider starting to send women over earlier? For example, using the SWA belt. It's just, it's trying, it's the politics and the absolutely. And yeah, it's just, there's so many moving parts, and I like a giant cork board. Like I want to be able to visualize everything. I'm a vision board kind of girl. I do the scrapbooking, those kinds of things, and there's not enough details. There's not enough mapping available right now for me that I can't. I'm going, like we were talking about being cautiously optimistic. My second point: tempered expectations. Because as much as we as fans love fantasy booking and we want to book this belt to the moon and back, we need to understand the higher we raise the bar, it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to raise the bar to meet us there, which means if it doesn't go our way, we could be setting ourselves up for disappointment and failure.
Right. It's it's such a fun combo though. Right?
Oh, it's an absolutely great one. But it's just like my heart. I need my heart to stop getting broken by wrestling.
Yeah. We live by the sword, we die by the sword. That's the way it goes. So the way I look at it now, as we sit here 2 weeks later, right? Like original feelings when you see it first. You know, you don't read anything, you don't read what anyone says. You're like, oh, that's awesome. Yeah, there's a title here. That means they're gonna get showcased on bigger shows. Awesome, great. And that's how I felt, because all the information we got about the title, it sounded almost too perfect, right? Like, okay, they're gonna do major shows. Okay, major New Japan shows, that's awesome. So anytime they have a like maybe even like Dontaku counts, you know, like maybe those count, not just Wrestle Kingdom and Dominion. Hopefully it's that show, maybe even the G1 final. Like maybe those are the shows they jump on. And the US part, beautiful to hear, because as people that live in the US are like, okay, I might get to see them soon, finally, which is awesome. But then do they go the next step after a while of, oh, this is more important than the World of Stardom Championship. This is more important than the Wonder of Stardom Championship. The SWA title, that's a different conversation. Like I said, like that is, I don't even know how that title exists with this title, because it's like, how many titles are you gonna have?
Well, and that's the other part. Like, and not I'm saying it's a problem that Stardom has, but there are shows where they leave off the Goddesses of Stardom Tag Championships. They leave off the Artists of Stardom Championships, and they have so many belts for for a legitimately smaller promotion. Even though, you know, when it came to physicals, they ranked third overall, beating many of the men's promotions. But at the same time, it's like, again, how many belts do you need? And if it's going to be like this international emissary sort of belt where you send them all over the place, how long are you going to keep a belt on one person? And is it going to be just like, for example, Mayutani's run with the Ring of Honor Women's Championship? Is she going to be the only person we see for 6 months at a time?
Yeah.
Because, you know, it's like this belt, unfortunately, is going to make us as international fans, it's going to make us a little greedy. It's gonna be like, so it's like, when are we getting Tam? When are we getting Julia? When are we getting Utami? When are we getting XYZ? Insert name here. Starlight Kid. Give me Starlight Kid. Like, it's just like one of those things where just like, will they only send one person? will they do it so they don't make sure that they don't have their biggest show of the month overlapping the one weekend that New Japan's running a show in the States? Because that's the other part that New Japan unfortunately does to us time and time again. They say they're not going to run shows the same time currently with their international shows, but they still do anyway.
Yeah. Like my head hasn't.
I don't mean to poo-poo on the party, man.
No, it's needed though.
But again, realistic expectations, tempered expectations, and being like, yes, this is great, but at the same time,
because
I need to know who's booking this.
Right. That's very important.
Kadani can give us the playbook. Let us book it. It'll be fine. We'll make it work.
And here's the other thing I play with now is that this title is my most important thing. I don't want it to be more important than the actual Stardom titles.
Correct.
It can be important, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
It needs to be more important than the SWA title too. Like that's also important, right? But how do you play that game?
Well, honestly, to keep it separate from Stardom, you don't have to have it defend on Stardom shows.
Exactly.
It's either New Japan / Stardom in the States, and when they do bring either a person for that show or multiple people, honestly, send a whole bunch of them over. Yeah. They also need, if you're gonna do New Japan Strong, they need to have a separate programming title for that. It can't be New Japan Stardom or New Japan Strong plus Stardom Shining. Like it needs its own branding.
Yeah.
Bottom line. Yeah. Or it's just gonna be like, I don't want it to feel like an obligatory women's match title.
I agree.
And that's the other problem I have. Like when I think of Forbidden Door, I love Toni Storm. I love Thunder Rosa. Their match was great.
It was.
But it took a lot of convincing for a lot of people to understand that these women have roots in Japanese promotions, including Stardom.
Mm-hmm.
And and that's the other thing. It's like I don't want them to like send the girls over and they're like, all right, well, you're gonna be on the first hour of a New Japan Strong taping.
Yeah, exactly.
The building's still filling in that first hour sometimes. Yeah. So it's again, it's all about the timing and the planning.
It's all about placement. And that's really Stardom coming to America, right? It's all about the planning. It's about how they want to do it because Stardom's been very open. It's like they are trying to expand through Japan first and foremost. That's their most important goals as a singular promotion. Doesn't matter what Bushiroad wants. That's what they want. And they've been doing that fantastic. Like they have been nailing it, which is why the next step is international. But I'm right there with you. And the good, so here's the good and bad. New Japan Strong tapings, as we see them, it can be the main event of a New Japan Strong taping every weekend. That's awesome.
Absolutely.
But they need to be doing them when the house is full. When, if you put it in the middle of a New Japan Strong taping, that's fine because that only affects the people that are there. It's probably the main event of New Japan Strong on New Japan World, episode, I don't know. You get the point,
but that's the other problem. Will those matches air on New Japan World because Stardom's broadcast contract is with a separate company? There isn't a singular, like it isn't like
you figure that part out too.
It's not like Cyberfight that has Tokyo Joshi Pro, Noah, and DDT where it's all housed under one place.
Yeah,
they have separate contracts, separate platforms.
Yes.
So how does that work?
Mm-hmm.
Again, more details I need.
Do we get to see it at all? Right, like that's the other conversation. Do we?
I'm still mad that we never got that Wrestle Kingdom 14 match with Julia, Arisa, Mayu, and Hana Kimura. I was there for it, and it kills me that everyone around the world could not see that match.
It breaks me, truly. Like, I'm not gonna get emotional about Hana and Arisa Shiki right now because that's another conversation. But
we'll get into our fangirl feelings about them later.
Exactly. If I go into a whole conversation about both of them, it's gonna be an extra long episode. But that's just another question. Will they air? And we've seen, Wrestle Kingdom. We've seen Wrestle Grand Slam. We've gotten to see those matches on, so that's why I have hope. But at the same time, you're like, you don't really know. We just don't know. There's so much unknown. We just have to like be excited, but also be like, maybe, like, let's hope. And then this is the fun conversation now we can have. Now that we've been through the, okay, maybe maybe this will be good, maybe this won't. Maybe this, maybe this will work out, maybe it won't. Maybe it'll be more important than the titles, maybe they won't. Hopefully it won't. Hopefully it's its own importance, but also not more important. And I like your idea also. Don't defend them on Stardom shows. Just keep it completely separate. That's how you keep the world.
That's the only way it's gonna stay. No,
Right.
it won't supersede the actual top belts. I mean, I mean, and I know that sounds. Some people might say that's like, well, you're crazy, but I mean, well, it is what it is.
True. It's true.
And I also think about the G1 Supercard, where Mayu's match was the only match on the card, but there was that dark match that featured Oedo Tai, Hana, and had Sumi Sakai in it.
Yep.
But that only came out months later on their YouTube channel for free. I don't want the Stardom, IWGP, whatever matches they do here or abroad to become like AEW Dark.
Exactly.
Where it's like it gets released on their YouTube channel and you may or may not see it because both companies crank out so much content on their YouTube channels daily.
Yeah. Right. Daily.
Like
the only way I'm okay with it going on YouTube is it's part of New Japan Extra, which is shows we've already seen, right? Matches, not shows. Like that's the only way. Or they go on Stardom's YouTube after the fact. So say New Japan World had it for X number of months, and then they're like, oh, well, Stardom fans who pay for Stardom World need to see this show.
Then put it on Stardom World.
Well, that too. You would hope so. Stardom World's a whole different.
Well,
wonderful.
They need to honestly. They need to build a platform that's akin to what Cyberfight has, with both companies housed in the same place for one price, one affordable price.
Bushi World. Not Bushi World, Bushi
Fight
World. Otherwise, people might get confused because you hear Bushi and you're like the wrestler. no, not that.
No, not that Bushi. Oh my gosh!
No, an entire service just for him. No.
I mean, he is high maintenance. But I don't know if he's that high maintenance.
But as I was hinting at, let's get to that fun question, which is always a fun one for me. Who would you have be the first IWGP Women's Champion? Because you just named off number of wrestlers that you're like, oh.
Honestly, any one of the ones I just named off, I would. When you think about logistics, it's do you want someone who has previous abroad experience? Do you want someone who's synonymous with Stardom? I love Kairi. I love Nanae Takahashi. I don't want either one of them near that belt. Maybe as a defense, but not as first champion.
Kairi is interesting because
But Kairi doesn't work. She's not contracted to Stardom, and people forget that. She is a freelancer. I mean, would I love to see her drop that elbow in the Tokyo Dome on a Wrestle Kingdom show? Hell yes. But again, but that makes the question is this a belt designed for Stardom that are there all the time? Or is this like a John Cena belt where somebody just comes in and can shoulder it and then like flutter away?
Yeah.
You
don't want a part-timer. You want someone that's there in the
Correct.
trenches every single week.
But if it's a belt that's not getting defended every single week or every single Stardom pay-per-view, it may not necessarily matter.
Yeah.
But again, you would want at least the inaugural champion to be someone who's a Stardom regular. When I think of people who don't have belts right now, you've got Mayu, Utami, Julia, Tam. Those would be the one.
Mayu does have a belt. It's just, is it a belt?
It's a non-belt because the only person she can defend it against right now is Tekla, and Tekla's out injured. Like,
it's also not a belt because of this new one. That's the whole conversation. It's like, what's the difference now?
I mean,
I know the difference, but
I guess if the IWGP isn't limited to somebody having to defend against someone of a different nationality, but Mayu's options are Mayu's options are not limited to Tekla. Julia and Shuri are the only two other people because they are of mixed
and
heritage.
Fukigen Death, of course.
Well, she's an alien or international alien in the sense from outer space alien. But that's the thing is that when I think of the people that could be that, like that, not that S tier, but like that IWGP. When I hear the words IWGP,
Mm-hmm.
It's your Utamis, it's your Mayus, it's Julia, it's a leader of any of the factions, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Those would be the people I would go to first.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, you kind of have to take Shuri out of the conversation unless she loses the belt between now and November. Because I don't want any more double champ nonsense. I'm tired. I'm tired of the double gold dashes, the triple gold dashes. I'm tired of people being greedy belt collectors. I need it to be someone who can focus their attention solely on this, and it needs to be someone who can miss if a Stardom big show is the same weekend as a New Japan tour abroad where they're going to showcase his belts. It needs to be someone who, if they're off the card, the fans are like, why isn't XYZ champion on the belt or on the card? Why aren't they here?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the other problem, is that the Japanese fans are the ones right now that are keeping the lights on with, buying all the tickets and going to all the shows. So even if one person's missing, that's still frustrating for people who love that particular wrestler.
Right.
So it's like, who can they afford to lose right now? Can Queen's Quest really go without Utami? Say, for example, can they go without Utami for a couple of shows for the next couple of months? Can Don Don Mundo function without Julia? Who's trying to hold who's trying to hold DDM together by the skin of her teeth between
in January they could have.
Yeah. You mean before Shuri left and Natsupoi left and Mirai left and Prominence
before the world crumbled around her.
Prominence is still around. They're causing trouble. So it's like, who can they reasonably put the belt on and not worry about it?
Yeah. Well, that's the game. They're going to worry about whoever holds that belt, right? Like, you want your first champion to be a star. And I think everyone on the Stardom roster is a star, right? But you're not going to give it to, I'm not going to name anyone because that's mean, but you're not going to give it to someone that is going to travel to the US and people will be like, who? Right?
Yeah.
That's the whole thing, because that's what this title's made for, to make those who's become, oh, I know who that is. Instantly, when the belt was announced, it's like, oh, it's Mayu. Just, she's been there. She was Ring of Honor Women's Champion.
She's held every other belt in the company, I think, besides the Future of Stardom, right. I believe.
And you also want the first champion, like you were saying, to be just someone that should be, to me, synonymous with Stardom, who's been there since the very beginning.
And who's still there.
Yeah, she is. And that's why we thought she had the SWA World Championship, was to travel around the world. Like, that was
I've been waiting for her.
Yeah. I think we all are. I mean, Maya's like, I say this on the show all the time. She's my favorite wrestler of all time. So it's like, hey, if you want to come over to the United States, I will. Please do. But she has the SWA championship, right? And to me, that should just be like the ticket to the title match. Like, okay, let's have because you have to build to that match, obviously, and you're probably going to make it two big people, whether it is the main event, the semi-main event. It's going to be an important match on that show, because the first show.
Yeah.
So to me, it's like, and you brought up Kairi, which people have brought up to me. It's like, well, there are problems with that decision.
Yes.
There's also
Kairi is a forever favorite of mine. I absolutely adore her. But again, it's a problematic choice.
She's because she's not signed with Stardom. Like, you want someone flying that Stardom flag. You know how Queen's Quest walks out with the flag. You literally want someone walking out with that Stardom flag, with that title around their waist, defending it and making people want to watch Stardom. There's no one better at doing that than Mayutani. She feels like the choice, and she's also someone that, she's been in Stardom so long. Who are we going to be missing from these major shows, right? Any one of those top people is a big loss for even if it's just one weekend, right? Even if it's just one weekend. At least she's been there forever, so like, people going, you've hopefully seen her, right? Like, if you're a Stardom fan, you've hopefully seen her. So if she misses one show that you're going to, maybe it doesn't hurt as much. Like, that's also the but then there's going to be more champions. So it's like, but booking that first one, you want a solid reign. You want a established person. You want a main eventer. You want someone that people want to go see. Feels like Mayu. Tommy also makes sense, like you said. So Julia, Tam's another one. Like she's been there for.
I just don't need Tam to have a 30-minute match for the belt. Because I love Tam, but her title matches can tend to run a little on the long side. But my other problem is that, you know, in this build for a historic crossover between the announcement of the show and, you know, the PR they've done since then, they've already kind of teased in Tokyo Sports who may or may not be in these mixed tag matches. And one of the first ones off the bat was Mayu and Tanahashi standing next to each other being like, well, it's the Ace and the Icon. I mean, why not? And then possibly, you know, could be Starlight Kid and Desperado because, you know, they have their little fun masked people thing going on. And then, you know, there was an interview with Utami who was like, I want to tag with Okada. And if Naito wants to stand in the opposite corner, knock himself out. Like, it's like half the people I would want for this belt.
Yeah.
I also want in those mixed tag matches that have been teased for the last couple of months since they've announced this darn show.
Yeah. You even have like Tam and Taichi too. Like just to add another possibility.
I was hoping for Julia and Naito, but that's me getting real greedy. But that's the thing is that it's just like a lot of the people I would if I were to put the inaugural IWGP championship on, they're already heavily promoting crossover with these individuals and mainly focusing on the potential of these mixed tag matches. So it's like I don't think they're going to take opportunities away from anybody by making somebody wrestle, like make people wrestle 2 matches on the card, because that's kind of unfair to everybody else. But it's like, would you rather see, for example, Julia tag with Naito, possibly against Utami and Okada, or do you want Utami and Julia fighting for the IWGP championship?
It's a fun game we play here.
It's exhausting because I want it all, Scott. I want it all.
I know. Well, that's why we need more than one historic crossover show. Also,
well, if it becomes like as an annual event, or even, you know what, make it a semi-annual.
That's
fine. You've got the G1 and 5-star in the summertime. You've got, you know, Wrestle Kingdom Queendom happening at the end of the year. Have something in the spring. Have something in the autumn. Because then you've got all 4 seasons where you could easily have something at Wrestle Kingdom, crossover and spring crossover. Because, you know, in Japan, this April, the beginning of April, cherry blossom season, that's the start of the new financial year, the new academic year. That's the new beginning in Japan. And then autumn, we've got, you know, we already have one in November. If anything, push it a little closer to October after the 5-star and after the G1 are all finished, and everyone has time to heal up.
It's a fun game we're playing here. It's a fun conversation, and I think you know, highlighting all those mixed tags, it, you know, starts to jump out. Like, okay, maybe it is Tam Nakano actually, because she's, you know, she has that relationship with Taichi. They do those videos on YouTube and whatnot, but we don't hear her saying, "Oh, I want to team with Taichi." Like, okay, so maybe it is you. And then it's, you know, thinking of who she faces, and that's we're not doing that right now. We're gonna wait a little for more details.
And that's the other thing, is that as long as certain people are shouldering the Wonder in the World of Stardom Championship, that for me at least, that takes them off the table. So right now, Kamitani and Shuri are off the table, and they should be.
Yes,
because you can't put it on any one person to carry. I mean, they could try, but it's not going to be fair to everyone else.
Exactly. I'm sick of double titles. It's not no.
I had to live through going to Wrestle Kingdom in Japan 2 years ago, and we had to deal with it last year during the pandemic. I'm done with double titles.
Yeah, double titles bad. The only good double champion was Mayu, because it didn't last forever.
It was like, what, maybe, but and also it was two separate companies. It was one in Japan and then one in Ring of Honor, and she would just like jet back and forth.
Yeah.
So
exactly. And yeah, no double titles. But okay, let's get to the original topics that we were here to talk about. Before you reminded me about this one, I haven't talked about it yet, because it's like, all right, that was announced, massive news, but we're gonna hide it for a little bit, because we still have so much going on, right? Again, we're talking G1, and we're gonna talk 5-star Grand Prix here. We talked about before the show how their opening weekend was massive. 2 nights back to back. I don't know. I have this little document over here. It was a total of like
A lot of
20
wrestling.
tournament matches. Yeah. A lot of
A
wrestling.
lot of
Plus
wrestling.
2 Kyrie tags, which is just even more. So it's a lot. It's a lot,
Yes.
but that's why we watch this promotion in the first place.
Yes.
For you, obviously, it's a lot because you also have to watch all the G1. I get to pick and choose my G1 matches. You don't get to do that. Which it's a blessing and a curse, I guess, in some ways, because it's like
the 2 times speed on New Japan World is my best friend. Because if there's ever a match that I'm like, oh god, this is taking forever, just put it on. I'm like, ooh, it's Chipmunk Kevin Kelly and Chipmunk Chris Charlton. Let's breeze through this 20-minute match in about 10 minutes and change.
Exactly. So you're playing that game. I watch a lot of wrestling as you do as well. So it's like there's still a lot in all these GP matches add up. I believe we have 156, 57,
something around that, yeah,
including the final. So that's a lot, and I'm gonna watch every single one. I happily admit that, right? That's the excitement. But opening weekend, it was. I say, and this is as someone that didn't watch full G1s until recent past 3 years or so. And I stopped doing that this year because the GP just grew so much and I do all the other Joshi stuff. But as someone that watched full tournaments, I've never liked a full tournament more than last year's 5-star Grand Prix. So my excitement for this year's was as high as could be. And you have a first night like that, and you're like, oh, I feel like I was right. Like everyone that I told, hey, you need to watch this. You need to watch this. You need to watch this. I felt validated at the end because I was like, this is why I think Stardom is hitting on all cylinders for a reason. And I want to ask you, like, obviously it was a lot of wrestling, but how did you like the first weekend?
For me, it was emotional in the sense that when I got started at Post last year, it was around this time because I had pitched to help out with the G1 coverage because WH Park at Post is like, we'll ask the guys if they need some help. Yeah. There's always plenty to go around for the G1. And they're like, oh no, we have all the slots filled, but have you thought about the 5-star Grand Prix? Because by this point it had already started and I was watching, I was like, oh, I'm really enjoying this. So I started with covering the finals of the 5-star Grand Prix. So this is like, I'm starting to close the loop on my first year of Post. And it's kind of like coming full circle with the 5-star. And it's one of those things where the weekend that that opening weekend, I feel like they intentionally stacked the cards so they could justify doing double pay-per-views that weekend, honestly.
Absolutely.
Because between the matches that they gave, along with the tag matches featuring Kyrie, it was just a lot. I mean, a lot of wrestling to unpack. And what I love about the 5-star, and I wish more tournaments would do this, is the 15-minute time limit.
Oh, it's wonderful.
Because for wrestlers that tend to wrestle very long matches, like Tam or Julia or Saya Kamitani, it forces them to try to, they have that third opponent. They have the time limit. So it's like, are you willing to take the 1 point, or do you want those 2 points bad enough that you're going to do everything and anything as fast as you can to get to the point?
Yep. Yeah. I know people that, they are New Japan fans first. So like the 15-minute time limit to them is like, what are we doing here? Right? It's like, why are we not giving them a little more time to breathe? I'm like, no, trust me. This is going to be great because of something like that, where these wrestlers have to try now for more points, and it makes it so fresh. Like, listen, I don't know if there's anyone that loved Julia versus Suzuki as much as I did. I really don't, because of that reasoning and their history. And okay, let's go out there, let's beat the crap out of each other, and let's see who gets this win, because that is what matters. Those 2 points. Julia is going into this as a heavy favorite. Hazuki knows that. Hazuki doesn't like Julia, even though they show their respect after the match, but she don't like Julia. We know that history. She wasn't too happy about facing her when she was retiring. So that match perfectly shows why 15 minutes is perfect, because you get in, you maximize your minutes, you make every second count, and then you get out. Like I tweeted out when the match ended, I was like, headbutt, Michinoku, brainbuster, done. Like that was the end of that match. And it's like, I love that. And then there's the challenge of Shuri and Utami having to turn a 43-minute marathon into a 15-minute sprint.
Yeah. And
they killed it.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Like it's just one of those things, like even with what I loved about that weekend in particular though, there were some people that went in as heavy underdogs or people being like, there's no way that for example, there's no way Mina Shirakawa is going to beat Momo Watanabe, who was the finalist last year. Yeah. And let me tell you, as part of the Chan Mina hive, when she pinned Momo, I was like, it was early. And I'm like, yeah. And I'm sure, like, because I live in a townhouse. I've got neighbors on both sides. I'm like, I'm sure everybody for a 3-block radius heard me, but I didn't care but that's the thing about it. It's just like, it's like the G1 or any other tournament. This is the time of year where the people you've been, that have been sitting on that back burner, they're the ones that are boiling over. And all of a sudden, they've got everybody's attention.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When Mina won, I left that match. I was like, this is the best Mina's looked all year. And it took one match.
Yeah.
Because last year, I thought her 5-star Grand Prix was fantastic.
Yeah.
She showed she was incredible. A lot of people are incredible, to be fair. But like, from where I saw her before to the end of that tournament, I was like, this is what Mina can be. And like, I remember people saying like, oh yeah, she's number 2 in Cosmic Angels, right? Like she's ahead of Unagi. And this year, like, she took a step back. Obviously, with colors, she takes a bigger step back. So it's like, okay, you got to play with that now. And then she goes out there and beats Momo night 1. And those are the stories you love watching for.
I'm gonna get a lot of heat for this, but I kind of parallel Mina Shirakawa with Hiroki Goto and Yoshihashi. And I'll say this because people always overlook them. And then they're the ones that they're like a tournament like this, they come alive. Like, I don't know if
Yoshihashi's perfect, I think.
But I know, but people are just like, how dare you compare her to Yoshihashi? But can we talk about, I mean, we're not going to talk about it here, but theoretically, if people look at Yoshihashi's G1s, like how he like thrives during the G1, or in this case this year, David Finlay, like that's the kind, that's the kind of, not expectation, but that's the parallel I'm drawing. Like I've been like, it's like you've been waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting for it to happen, and it's fun. It's finally happening, and it's so satisfying. And like, don't get me wrong, I love me some Momo Watanabe. She can kick me into next Tuesday. I don't care. But like, it's just one of those like Momo's another one. Like she's done almost everything. She can stand to take she's like Tanahashi in the G1. He could stand to take a loss or 2 and he'll be fine.
She's also 22.
Yeah, Momo will be fine, guys.
Yeah. That's the beauty of it, right? Like, just think. I'm looking back at those matches, and I'm just thinking, like, listen, Mirai walked out with wins over Mayutani and Julia. Like, how big a weekend can you ask for?
And Mirai was, the hope from Tohoku. She's put a little bit of stank on everything, and I'm like, wait. Could we be getting heel Mirai one day? Because sign me up, please. Somebody sign me up for that.
I think she'd excel in that, because I know, and that's another conversation. Mirai, obviously, like people, there are Stardom fans that are like, well, there's been people there forever, and blah, blah, blah. Well, yeah, but now she's established. Now you know who Mirai is. She's a big deal. She's getting these big wins, and that's why we watch this. Like the reason Mina won. That's why we watch it, and that's what wrestling's all about. And looking at last week's show, what match, maybe besides, okay, so you talked about Mina versus Momo. I don't want you to necessarily repeat that one, but besides that one and besides the main events, what's a match that just jumped out to you and you're like, wow, this is excellent. This is great. And there's so many of them, so it's really
Utami Maika surprised me in a good way. I feel like Maika's another one.
Himeka.
Oh, Himeka, sorry.
Yeah.
Himeka is one that people have been sleeping on, but people forget that when she first came into the company in 2020, Himeka was the one who she was the semifinalist, or sorry, she was a finalist of the 5-star and ended up ultimately losing to Utami. So it's like seeing that kind of rub. I was like, yes, let's go. I'm trying to find the list of the match. Oh, here we go. Risa
think you
Sarah
nailed it.
versus Saki was also really good. And I feel like as two people who are from freelancers from outside of Stardom, I wish they would have told a little bit like more of their paths crossing.
Agreed.
Because they're not regularly in Stardom.
Yeah.
Especially because during the summer they were in the Catch the Wave tournament over at Wave.
They wrestled each other in the tournament.
Yeah, and
twice.
Yeah. So it's one of those things where it's just like because they each have, and they each have their own freelance groups and they all each have their own self-produced shows.
Yeah.
But from what I've read is that they've both been working. They debuted this around the same time, so their career is the same length. They're kind of unofficial forever rivals. Like they're in that same class together. So there was. I mean, the match was great, and there was just like a story that I wish, even though they're not Stardom, that story would have been told just in a little bit more detail.
Yeah, for sure.
Because unless you do a deep dive or someone who can be like, well, here's let me tell you all about prominence and all about GPU colors and why this is really important. And Risa Sarah is another one that's having a great tournament right now.
Mm-hmm. That's who I was about to talk about. I thought she had I'm not gonna say like a breakout weekend because she's a former 2-time world champion from Ice Ribbon. Like she's had her moments obviously beforehand, but for the Stardom world, again, which is what we're talking about. That was good. I did not mean to do
that. I'm actually quite proud of you for that one. Well done.
Thank you. But like in the Stardom world, right? You know her from that great Shuri defense, and then kind of let's be honest, she's kind of been Suzu's sidekick in a lot of ways in the story between her and Julia.
Yeah,
which is crazy because she's the leader of prominence. So it's like she needed to have a big weekend and she has this big entrance and she just feels like, kind of this worldly, like, okay, she is a beast and she's going to be here to talk, right? She beats Micah night 1, big time match, very physical.
That was a great match as well.
I enjoyed that one. And then the Saki one, which is big because Saki, and I think that's a lot of the reasons she had the Wonder of Stardom title match before this tournament, be like, she can have these title matches because she's also important for, again, Stardom fans who may not know that. So, yeah, I think Risa Sarah was like my quiet MVP's too far to say because of the weekend they had, but she's one of them. She's in that discussion. Obviously, she got two wins out of it, and she established herself as like, okay, she's someone to deal with. And we could talk about that first weekend forever because there's so many great matches, but we got to look ahead because we had this past weekend. They're still uploading the matches as of this recording, so we haven't really got to see a lot of it. And I'm not really going to spoil too much because there wasn't like any like stunning results that we need to talk about, but it's good to look forward because Natsupoi started her tournament officially, which I don't think a lot of people were talking about. Like she didn't have a match set. Suzu Suzuki begins this Thursday at the Korakuen Hall show, which, like, you want to talk about shows that are stacked. That one has 11 matches, and I think there's like we're getting Kid versus Momo, we're getting Hazuki versus Natsupoi, Mirai versus Suzu, which a rematch from that New Blood match, which was great. Utami versus Risa Sarah, which again we were talking about. Tam versus Azume, like, it goes on and on. That plays to I think our conversation here in the end. It's like this is the tournament you want to watch. And it can be a little tough because of the upload schedule, but you just got to hang in there because you're going to get great matches every single show. Truthfully, I think the Sunday show this past Sunday might have been the weakest card.
Yeah.
5-star wise. And if that's it, the third show they have out of 21, I think we'll be okay.
Well, and the other thing is that, I mean, the good thing about that tape delay is that you're not waking up consistently for the next 2 months at like 3:00 in the morning or 4:00 in the morning or 2:00 in the morning or staying up or on weekdays, weekends. Like you're not destroying your sleep schedule. Again, I love me some G1, but after the first couple years, I'm like, you know what? I will stay off the internet until I can pour my coffee, put my feet up, put on the TV, do some work from home. Like I'm not, as much as I'd love to live tweet things, I just can't. My body's like, stop being stupid. You're not 20 years old anymore. So that's
Yeah,
the one
I
that's
do
the one
that.
thing that Stardom has to their advantage is that they have they're not forcing their audience to be up at all hours of the night for the next 2
Right.
months, 3 months until October
Right.
1st.
Exactly, and I am happy about that in a lot of ways because I would
Yes.
be the person that's like, I gotta be up for this. Like this
Same.
is prime time, and like that Cork and Hall show. Like in my head, I'm like, oh, I really wish this was live. But if you're looking for shows that they upload the fastest, it's usually those. Like they get those Cork and Hall shows up fast, so you don't want to have to wait too long. But all right, looking ahead now in this tournament, we have favorites, we have underdogs, we have just hopefuls. I'm gonna ask you 3 different sections here, all going in that. So for you, who's your favorite right now
To win the 5-star?
to win the 5-star Grand Prix?
I feel like, and this is my gut and my heart speaking,
Mm.
Starlight Kid not being able to beat Kamitani for the white belt, there's a reason why they're waiting on her.
Mm.
So it's either Starlight Kid or Julia, because Julia had to drop out last year.
Yeah, Julia was my pick last year, and she's my pick again this year.
I think she was my pick last year as well, and I was like, oh.
And they had a great backup. Like they had a
Yeah.
great. I don't even know if Sure is backup. Maybe she was supposed to win the whole time. That's the fun game we play, talking about that.
And it led to a great story eventually.
Yeah, and I love playing the Starlight Kid game with like Western fans because they're like, some people love her, some people.
She's very divisive.
Yeah, she is. I love her. I love.
I adore her.
I think she's phenomenal. But I played this game with them the other day because they're doing like the top 15 most popular wrestlers in Japan. They're doing that on a Japanese TV show. I don't remember what it's called. But the wrestlers at that show were Kazuchika Okada, Hiroshi Tanahashi, and Starlight Kid. Like, there's a reason Starlight Kid, like, you could like her, you don't have to like her. I love her. Like I said, like you said, she is loved in Japan. She's so cool. She has all these amazing masks. She is someone that's really popular, really great in the ring. Just for a 20-year-old, she is as close to a complete wrestler as you could find, right? And she's going to do big things. If she won the 5-star this year, I'd be like, I get it. I get it. I would never shy away. And then that's just Stardom's never been afraid to push someone young. Momo Watanabe has the most dominant Wonder Star title reign at the age of 18. So
well, and that's the thing is that I think Starlight Kid's heel turn gave her that kick she needed to get out of Mayu Iwatani's shadow. She hasn't scaled the mountain and defeated Mayu yet, but
my favorite story.
That's gonna be some long-term booking.
Yeah.
And I feel like for that, like should one of them become IWGP champion in the future, I could see that being a forever rivalry for that belt. But that's a different story. But with Kid, when you look at the members of Oedo Tai prior to Momo joining, Natsuko is the leader, but then she blew out her knee this time last year during the 5-star, or right before it when she
when
she went up against Utami for the World of Stardom Championship.
Yes.
And it's one of those things where even though Saki Kashima was the most senior amongst the members, and Fukigen, has been there forever. She's been everywhere and everything, does everything. The Starlight Kid is the most marketable because she's the only masked wrestler in all of Stardom. She has that mystique. Bushiroad, they do trading card games and anime and merchandising. I don't understand why Starlight Kid doesn't have more merch, honestly, because they could make pillows, they could make little dolls, they could make masks. But and that's the thing is that she's young, she's charismatic, she's our Stardom original. She grew up in the Stardom, like she literally came of age through Stardom, and she may not be the most notable compared when you think of Utami or Mayu or whomever.
Yeah.
But for some reason, Kidani and Rossi are seeing something with her.
Yeah.
And I think they're thinking about Stardom in 5 years from now, where hopefully, knock on wood, by then, Starlight Kid's probably held the Wonder of Stardom Championship. She's probably held the World of Stardom Championship.
Yeah.
She's probably going to be IWGP champion by that point. I feel like she's going to be the first complete Grand Slam champion in the company. Because she has held the Future Stardom Championship.
So,
that's what.
Yeah. I'm thinking in my head. I was like, so like starting now, who wins all of them within the next 5 years?
I could easily see it be Starlight Kid.
I agree. I absolutely agree.
Because Julia's held the Wonder Stardom Championship. She had a great run with it. I could easily see Julia winning and then, going on to challenge Shuri for that, Donna Del Mundo bookend close off and to finally get the red belt onto Julia. But my gut is just, it says Starlight Kid.
I'm with you. I mean, she has, people like to talk about Ace and who's the heir apparent to Mayu, and Starlight Kid might be a heel now, but Mayu literally said when Starlight Kid left left Stars, that she still wants Starlight Kid to lead Stars when she's gone. Like that doesn't tell you like, okay, listen, like she's going to get back to that point. It's going to be fun to watch her, and I think you do bring up a good point. She's going to win all the tournaments. She's going to win all the titles. She is that star for them moving forward. And the only person that probably fights you in that conversation is maybe Utami, because she's still fresh. She's right, like she is still so.
Utami needs a project.
Yeah, she does.
But she's already won the 5-star. But has she won the Cinderella? Has Utami won the Cinderella?
Not. So that could be how she gets the Wonder, because she's never had that. So that she's had pretty much every belt. Otherwise,
and all of them at the same time at one point.
A belt collector. She had to wear it around her head. She had
her
belt
super
so big.
rookie year.
There's like a picture where the belt literally is bigger than her head. But that's just such fun here to talk about. The other two questions that I had before I almost forgot them is MVP, which for me, no, it's okay. I joined the conversation, so it's not your fault. MVP, and when I say MVP, it's someone that's not going to win, but it's just someone that goes out there and has great matches and leaves a memorable mark on the tournament that could benefit them in the long run. A lot of people, I didn't, because I think Shuri was just insane last year, so it was hard to pick anyone else. But like Micah had a really good showing last year. I think that elevated her up the card. For example, my pick's probably Hazuki, or maybe even a Suzu Suzuki, depending what she does, but she's not part of Stardom, so that's the interesting game to play there. But it's just an MVP that you're really excited to see their matches. You believe they'll just have great match after great match.
I feel like after her match with Utami, Himeka,
that's a good one,
might be a sleeper hit. People might judge me on this one, but I feel like Koguma is holding back.
It's a great one.
She's a workhorse in the best possible way, because she as a more seasoned veteran, she dictates the pace, and finding people that can slow her down is a challenge. Even her fellow high speed. I mean, Azumi could be easily another one.
She doesn't slow down.
She doesn't. She doesn't slow down, but she could easily be an MVP.
Yeah.
I just remember her match with Shuri last year. That was outstanding. So
yeah, if I could just name all 26, I would do that too.
Yeah, that too. But
it's the fun game that we play here. I also bring up like
you and I are the MVPs. Let's be honest. We're the most valuable people.
I agree. People gotta tell you like what to watch here, because there's people that aren't watching every single match, which I totally understand. But these are the people you gotta look out for. And then the other one was just like personal favorite that you're just you're rooting on. I think I already know who it is because you kind of hinted at it earlier. But like that's the excitement for you. You're just watching them, and anytime they win, it's like yes, and anytime they lose, you're like,
It's Mina Shirakawa. Let's be honest. I adore her. I love her dance. I love her costuming, her moves. I love how much she loves Liger, because I too love Liger. It's just one of those things where
who doesn't love Liger?
I mean, I don't trust anybody who doesn't love Liger. Let's be honest. He is absolutely lovely. But with her, it's when it came to her matches with Tam, like when she was going for the white belt, and she got, she became like crazy. She got many of the other challengers of the white belt. She got possessed by the white belt. I loved that bloody angel side of her. And then that's the thing, is that she's one that people are always going to be like, oh, well, Unagi's going to have such a great tournament, or Tam's going to have a great tournament. But she's the one that people always overlook.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm hoping that this tournament, people just start taking notice of her more.
Yeah, she's 1 for 1. I'd say she's 1 for 1 in that. And I think she has a match coming up. Yeah, she had a match with Saida this past weekend. So there's another opportunity. I guess I would go to Cosmic Angels too with Natsupoi. That's someone that I root on from afar. Obviously, she had a lot of change happen recently, so it's like
she's been a
that's
busy
the
girl.
fun game we're playing. Yeah, that's the fun game we're playing here. But I picked her last year as my favorite to watch, and she didn't do very well. This year, I think she's gonna do a little bit better.
She was the one I wanted to win the Cinderella tournament this year, and then Mirai came out of nowhere.
Yeah, she sure did. Mirai. That's a fun topic. But I guess that should bring us to our next topic. Do you have any other thoughts on the 5-star Grand Prix before we move on to our final topic here of the day?
No, I
No?
hope everyone enjoys it.
Yeah.
Just if you're gonna pick and choose the 5-star, honestly, every match is worth a watch, even though you're like you don't necessarily think the matchups are interesting.
Yeah.
But again, 15-minute time limit. Most of them don't go more than 10, so you're not really. It's not like the G1 where every match has a 30-minute time limit. Look at it that way. It's and with tape delay, you can skip the entrances, you can skip the aftermatch, you can just you manage your time a lot easier.
Mm-hmm.
So every match honestly is worth a watch if you want the full entire experience and be able to appreciate the winners of the finals and who gets nominated for the awards at the end.
Mm-hmm. And you should watch this is my little plug because the match is already up. You should watch Mayutani versus Hanan. That's a big one for me. Just as it was really, really fun. But yes, you should watch the whole tournament. But that's a match I could see people skipping because it's like, oh, well, it's Hanan, and she doesn't matter as much yet. Yes, but she's someone that people see as the future of Stardom as well. You want to watch her grow through this tournament, and she started her tournament against nobody. It was mentor versus protege. What's better than that? Those are the matches we love. But yeah, check everything out. But here we go. Final topic here. I already had you for an hour, but this has been so much fun. We've talked Stardom.
I'm good. I can keep going. Don't worry.
Well, that's good because we're kicking it to TJPW.
Let's go.
The number, and people don't like this. The number 2 Joshi promotion. It's number 2. It's not a shot at them at all. It's just and it's so fun that we even have this conversation of a 1 and 2 Joshi promotion at this point. But obviously they're gaining steam just from their wrestlers traveling to the United States. People are checking it out more. And this coming weekend is one of their biggest weekends of the year, as we have the semifinals and finals of the Tokyo Princess Cup, and we have 4 great competitors, 2 of the new blood per se, and the two of the pillars, 2 probably the most prominent 2 TJPW has, and they're going head to head on each side. It's so exciting for me. I'm a big Miyu Yamashita fan. I don't know many people that aren't, to be fair, but
very true.
That's the fun part here. We have Yuka Sakazaki, we have Miyu Watanabe, and we have Suzume. So, Karen, we have Miyu versus Miyu. So we have Miyu Yamashita versus Miyu Watanabe on one side. We have Yuka Sakazaki versus Suzume on the other. I think these matches are both going to be great. I'm not really worried about that. But it's who do we see moving on? Because the winner, if no one knows, if you're listening to this and this is your first time hearing about TJPW, you're trying to get into TJPW, the winner goes on to main event, presumably, Wrestle Princess 3, which is their biggest show of the year. Obviously, they had Grand Princess this year, but in Summer Sun Princess. But Wrestle Princess, that's their Wrestle Kingdom, WrestleMania. There's a reason it's called Wrestle Princess, right? It goes along with everything. So you have Yamashita there, you have Sakazaki there. You can lean on the old, or you can embrace the new. So let's start on one side of the bracket here. Yuka versus Suzume. how you feeling going into this? What excites you about Suzume getting such a shot? Obviously, because I don't know if anyone expected Suzume to be here, but it's
I don't
really
think
cool that
Suzume
she
expected
is.
to be there. I love
You
her.
make a good
I
point.
adore
Yeah.
her. I think she's adorable. But one of the things and this is me as somebody who wants to think long term about the company.
Mm,
Yuka Sakazaki is a very decorated champion
mhm,
historically in Tokyo Joshi
mm,
Pro, as is Miyu Yamashita.
mhm.
As much as I would want either of them to work further towards their becoming Grand Slam champions in the company, at this juncture, the company, with them regularly going abroad, the company needs to start thinking about who else they can elevate at this time.
100% agree.
So for me, I really want to see Watanabe and Suzume stage the upsets and get that opportunity to main event future versus future.
Mm,
Especially after watching Rika Tatsumi pin Miyu Watanabe at Cyber Fight Festival to get that title shot,
right.
and they're tag partners. So for
Mhm,
me, it's I want Miyu Watanabe to just, I mean, that's the one I'm rooting for out
yeah.
of the four of them, just because
Yeah.
I want her to be seen as equal to her tag partner, and I don't right now there's like this gap because how
Mhm,
decorated Tatsumi is versus how newer she is.
yeah.
So, but yeah,
Yeah.
I'm really, I don't know if Tokyo Joshi is brave enough to let
Mm,
both Sakazaki and Yamashita eat losses in this tournament,
right.
but it
Well,
would be for the benefit of the wrestlers and the future of the company because I think it would feel fresh.
mhm. I think it's easy to agree that there's no one more ready than Watanabe to make that step from here to main event. And I think a lot of people felt that way for a while now. I think she's got to be the favorite. Like personal, like come on, we want her to get there. But that does bring the conversation of okay, so say Suzume loses. Is Miyu Watanabe going to beat Miyu Yamashita and Yuka Sakazaki in the same weekend? Right? Like that's the conversation. And if she does, she's made. Like you couldn't be more made than beating one of them, let alone both of them. That's the fun of this tournament. It's the fun of this conversation. Um, you know, I think Miyu Yamashita has other plans for Wrestle Princess 3 personally, with a certain AEW star that happens to dive in once in a while, Yamashita named her as her number one. Like, I want to face her. So I think Hikaru Shida and me Yamashita have some unfinished business coming up soon. So that to me kind of takes her out of it. Takes her out of it. She's never won the Princess Cup either, so there's
Yeah.
a conversation to be had there. Do you want Yamashita to win every accolade possible? But
But
I'm with you.
does she need it right now?
I don't think she needs it at all.
Same.
Truthfully.
Well, and that's the thing is that with Yamashita and Sakazaki, because travel's opened up, they're not just going to AEW, they're doing a lot of independent bookings,
Mhm.
both in the United States and abroad. I think like
Yeah.
maybe right before Summer Sun
Yeah. She went to.
Princess, Miyu went to Spain to
Yeah.
wrestle Alex Windsor. So it's
Right.
one of those things where I feel, I mean, I could arguably see the final being Yuka Sakazaki versus Miyu Yamashita, but at the same time, neither of them need it at this juncture in time.
No.
It's their opportunity to elevate their juniors, both Suzume and
Mhm.
Watanabe, to elevate them up and give them the opportunity to take that next step. And that's what they need most of all right now. Because I
Yeah.
think as much as I love as somebody relatively new, like within the last year to Tokyo
Yeah.
Joshi Pro, I've seen a lot of Shoko Nakajima, a lot of Miyu Yamashita, a lot of Yuka Sakazaki, a lot of Maki Ito, and it's like I I know there's more people
Yeah.
that work there, but sometimes it doesn't feel like there are more
Right.
than those core four.
I agree. I agree. And that's also the funny thing with Makito, right? It's like she's such a big international star, but in the world of TJPW, like she hasn't had that the Princess of Princess title. She hasn't won that yet, but she did win this cup. That was her big win.
And she's not
And
even there to defend it this year. She won last year, and now she's off working
I
international dates instead.
I can't explain how much that hurt me. And it's literally only because she has the dates for these 2 shows set. Like, that's why she wasn't in the tournament, because she's set for GCW. And I was like,
yeah,
come
GCW
on.
Homecoming, I think it is.
Yes. And I, I still think we need to pay off that Yamashita Ito story. Like, Ito needs that win, and it would have been so nice to have that title win. Still hurts me a little bit, but it's okay. It's okay.
I mean, I'm happy for Alex Windsor, but like, when is she coming back? Are they gonna have to wait till Wrestle Princess for her to come back, or are they gonna start sending people? I know that Hyper Misao is going to Pro Wrestling Eve, but that's not until either October or November.
Yeah.
And all those dates, I believe, are actually after Wrestle Princess, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe you were correct. I believe you're correct off the top of my head.
But it's like, Alex Windsor, we kind of need her to come back to defend her championship at some point, or just start shipping girls to the UK and let somebody go show up at a Rev Pro show and be like, hey, while we're here, allow us to defend the title, or have her lose it and have that person bring it back.
Yeah. That's
a completely different story, unrelated to Tokyo Joshi, the Princess Cup.
Well, yeah, but it's the game that they're playing right now, because they're bringing all these international stars, and slowly but sure. I know Maxie and Paler's coming up. They probably are going to bring. I'm sure they're bringing Willow eventually, because she didn't get to be there, which stunk, because there's few people you could bring in that fit TJPW more than Willow, I think.
And the crowd over there would love her, because she's so vibrant. She's so happy. And like that's the thing about TJPW, is that for me, like, when I think of like genres of anime, like Stardom is that like serious girl fight. We're gonna have serious wrestling, but Tokyo Joshi Pro is kind of like shoujo anime, where it's very like flowery and happy and like magical girls genre. Like, kind of like if you were to take Cardcaptor Sakura and make her a wrestler, that's Tokyo Joshi Pro.
Kind of like a pun there, the magical girl thing, because Yuka is the magical girl after all.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
I think that's a good way to hit it, though. They have so many moving parts right now. They have all their tops, not all of them, but Yamashita and Ito, debatably their 2 top stars. They're going to the US. I don't know if Yamashita has any scheduled dates here in the.
I think she just finished up one.
Garden State.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she did AEW, of course. And I think she's going back to Prestige at one point, where she obviously faced Slamovich and Ito. So I think she's going back there. I think that maybe at the same time Dragon Gate is going there. So again, all these moving promotions. Everyone's trying to get to the US now. All these Japanese promotions. And Ito, as we said, had to miss this tournament because of a US date. So they have to play with fire a little bit here, right?
Yeah.
And it goes back to the point you made. Establish someone right now. Watanabe, Suzume, they're going to be there for you when you need them the most. They're not at that level yet, so they're not getting those calls to head over yet. Mizuki, I think, just also went over for Deadlock Pro like this past weekend.
This past weekend, she was in North Carolina, I believe it was.
Right. She faced Emi Sakura, I think.
Correct.
Yes, which sounds great in itself.
Can't wait for that match to come out, honestly. I've seen pictures and I'm like, oh, I want to be there. Just like when I saw pictures of Yamashita versus Miyuki Takase, I was like, oh, when is this match happening?
Miyuki Takase is also one of my favorite wrestlers in the world. So like watching from afar, I was like, because they announced it like with 2 weeks to go. This is just me going on a rant now.
No, I feel you. Like, I need time for a hotel, airfare, like
get time. I need to get time off. It's like all those things.
Yes, I gotta hire a dog sitter.
Exactly. If you gave me a month at least, I could have probably made it happen. But you didn't give me that. You didn't give me that. You just like, oh yeah, we're gonna have Takase and Yamashi. I was like,
of course you are.
Of course you are. When I can't be there, and like again, for example, this is me going on personal rants. I'm sorry, but when AEW announced Yamashita for Fight for the Fallen, that's literally 50 minutes for me. But they announced it the week of, so I had work. And I was like, and I'm just like, I get home that night, I watch AEW Dynamite like off record. I recorded, and I'm just like, I was like, this stinks. I could have been there. Like, it's so funny, and that's why I'm excited for the Stardom stuff. Cause I'm like, well, New Japan Strong shows they're announced a little ahead of time, so I can make that work. But that's the game we're playing right now. But back to the Princess Cup, not my personal problems of getting to miss out.
Well,
on
I
my
was getting ready to talk
personal
about Jungle
thing.
Kyona for a second there, so I'm
Oh,
glad.
that's a good no. You know what? Go ahead.
No, we'll do Tokyo Joshi Pro, then we'll talk Kyona.
Okay. All right. Well, that's another one that we I haven't really fully talked about on here, so that's perfect. But yeah, let's finish with Tokyo Joshi Pro here. I think me and you both agree. Let's establish Watanabe preferably, but if Suzume wins, that's awesome too. I just see Watanabe ready to take that step.
I feel like she's the one they're teeing up right now for Suzume. If not this year, definitely next year.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's they already had their tag tournament earlier this year that Watanabe won with Rika Tatsumi.
Yes,
I could easily see Suzume being in that slot next year and then working her way to winning the Princess Cup next year.
For sure. And I think that's an interesting thing too. Like when we're talking about Suzume, people have to remember that her tag team partner left. I don't know if for people who don't know, Mirai was her tag team partner before she left for Stardom. So like she's undergone a big year of, getting herself to this point. She's had the matches with Mei Saruga teaming with her and facing her in Gato Move. She's had the tag team tournament where her and Arisa Endo, she had a tag team title match. So this is a big spot for her no matter what. And I think she's earned it, right? She's earned that big win, even beating Yuka, because she's also beaten Tatsumi. So it's like, okay, if you can beat those two and you lose in the finals, you still beat
some big names.
Yeah, you beat two former Princess of Princess champions in this tournament, got to the finals. And the finals last year was Shoko. So that also plays Shoko to it,
Nakajima.
Right? That plays it too, though, because she was in the finals. She didn't win, but look at her now. She's a Princess champion. Yeah. So even getting to the finals is big. And Shoko was established before that, but it all matters.
And on the flip side, Miyu, if I'm not mistaken, was it Miyu that beat Shoko to advance?
Yes, there you go.
So Miyu already has that title opportunity in her pocket. She doesn't necessarily need to win the Princess Cup either.
Right.
Because she's already banking that one.
Crazy.
So I mean, we could get the best of both worlds. Suzume could win, but then each of them gets a championship opportunity.
I think that is the best of both worlds. That would excite me. I'm a big Suzume fan too. Like
how old is she? She looks. I can't tell if she just looks really, really young, or she is really, really young, or she's a lot older than she says she is.
I think she's
pretends to be really young.
Probably like 23. I nailed it. Okay. I was right. I did not expect that to be right. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was like 23. I don't really know.
I thought she was 20, but 23. I could easily see that 20. As well.
She looks. Well,
she looks like she's 16. Let's be honest.
Say, this is true. But we're on the same page here. Let's build someone. If Miyu Watanabe beats Miyu Yamashita plus Shoko Nakajima, maybe plus Yuka Sakazaki, I don't think you can establish someone any better than that. But on the other side, if Suzume beats Rika Tatsumi, which she already did, beats Yuka Sakazaki, and even loses, or I think this is the least likely scenario of her beating Miyu Yamashita in the finals. I think that's the least likely final. But that'd be crazy. that'd be crazy in its own right.
I love Suzume, but I think like Miyu might kick her into the 5th row,
which she often does. Poor Suzume. She was the one that got her head kicked off at Cyber Fight Festival, for example. Yes. So it's like, poor girl. But maybe that's her redemption story. But that's the fun of it. So this was us talking about TJPW Tokyo Princess Cup that airs live on Wrestle Universe this weekend. Probably at reasonably good times too, off the top of my head. Usually they air at very good times for Western fans too. If wish I had it at the top of my head. I don't know if they've announced that, but they're both live and they're not the same night like they were last year. So it's not going. I don't know if they were last year. Maybe it wasn't. Either way, semifinals on Saturday, finals on Sunday. as you saw in the graphic at the very beginning, live on Wrestle Universe. Very excited.
They are going to be 10 p.m. Eastern time on the 13th. And
wonderful.
10 p.m. Eastern time on the 12th, because it's the 13th, 14th in Japan.
Yes.
So it's just me late nights this coming weekend.
That's pretty good.
I might actually stay up past my bedtime.
I think I will. Well, I work, so I will be up. So it's like perfect for me. So yeah, I'm gonna watch that. Okay, that's great. And that's the exciting part. They often put their shows at 10 p.m. is not reasonable because people go to bed, and I'm a night owl, so
It's
I
more
work
reasonable
that late.
than 2 a.m. Let's be honest.
Exactly. I think the first GP show is at 4 a.m. So it's like, so it's reasonable, worth checking out. If you want to get into TJPW, these are the shows to do it, because now we're heading into Wrestle Princess season. And since we kind of have an added subject here, let's talk about it. Jungle Kiona is on her way to the United States. She also showed up in the No Bad show the other day, so she kind of has a Japan home now too when she comes back. That was the hint. And that's also awesome that Jungle Kiona has a somewhat home in Japan, because we want Jungle Kiona to wrestle as much as she can. But this is the topic. United States, she has shows in Deadlock Pro, Garden State, Prestige. I think that's it for now.
For now, yeah.
For now. But she's coming over here for a while. I think it was actually Sean Ross Sapp that originally reported that. And then the floodgates happened of every company announcing it within like 10 minutes. It's like, boom, she's coming here.
I feel like they were all waiting for that Jungle Kiona is coming to the United States, and like, all right, guys, social media, 3, 2, 1. Like, you know, the nuclear keys that get turned in sync. Like, all the promoters are like, ready? 3, 2, 1, go.
Yeah. And another exciting part, I think the Garden State show that she's on, Asuka Venny is also on that show. So it's like you get the best of both worlds there.
I will be at that show. I bought my ticket. I got my hotel. I booked my plane ticket. I got the dog sitter. I'm ready. I just need to pack. That's all I have to do.
See, there you go. So let's discuss it. How excited are you for Jungle Kiona not only returning to wrestling? Like, that's the part that I think we have to all discuss. She's not only like coming to the United States, she's returning to wrestling. She had the match with Kyoko Kimura at the Hana Kimura Baga show, which was so special, so amazing.
It was so special,
right?
So very special.
But now she's back. Like, she is actually back, and like, how exciting is that for you? And now you get to see her too at the same time.
So back when Stardom used to do the talent would reserve the tickets for people and not do everything through Ticketpedia or whatever like automated and online systems that they use now. When I went to Wrestle Kingdom, Jungle Kiona was the one that I contacted for a ticket. She got me one of the last tickets in the building for the show that was on January 3rd, right when 2020 opened. So it was, for me, she was the very first like checking meet and greet I did, because I wanted to thank her. So for me, she's very, very special to me. And when she had blown her knee out after the whole, dissolution of TCS, the loss of Hana and all of that. And, right when she was coming back up onto 2021, everyone was like, oh my gosh, she's getting healthy. She's training. She's posting again. And then October 1st happened, and she's like, I'm no longer with Stardom. And everyone's just like, excuse me, what? Ma'am, what are you doing? And then it was like, she's like, I'm a freelancer now. So everyone's like, all right, well, there's plenty of freelancing to go around. Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? And then, apparently she had complications with the surgery she had. She had to redo some of them. So that pushed back her timetable longer. She had the match with Kyoko. I cried that entire match. I cried throughout the whole thing, because I know how important Hana was to her, and how important, as a result, wrestling Hana's mom on her return match was when she was finally ready.
Yeah.
And after that, it was like, she wrestled that match, and then she just got really quiet again. And everyone's just like, but ma'am, you're back. You're on the clock now. So her showing up at Nomads, I haven't watched the show yet, but I gotta chase it up.
By the way. Great show.
I heard rave reviews of it, but it was one of those things where I was like, I was still recovering from the G1.
I
And
love
it was a work from home day, but I woke up and I was like, yeah, no, this isn't happening right now.
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
but the concept of nomads in itself is great because they designed it as a refuge for freelancers because with the pandemic putting so many of them out of work, they had no one else but each other. So Jungle Kiona showing up and being like, you know what? After I go to the States for a couple of months, I'm coming back here, and everyone's like, yes, let's go.
Perfect. Not only is she coming back here, she's probably facing Rina Yamashita of all people.
And Rina's been working here in the States as well, so they'll have that shared experience, which is also really great.
Yeah, she's coming for homecoming as well this weekend. So there you go. Get play on that.
It's one of those things where I'm very curious to see who else books her. But I was gonna try to go do Garden State one night and then down to Deadlock Pro the next night and then back down to Florida. But Deadlock Pro ain't dropping them details fast enough. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna book my tickets while it's still cheap. I'll just do the one night and come back home. But 3 months, because that's how work visas work here. You can't just work, move here permanently or move here for an unlimited amount of time. So it's from what I've seen is that she's planning on doing September, October, November-ish, and then back for probably the new year and all of that, and maybe has to wait a couple of months before she can come back again. But I'm thrilled for her. I can't wait for more people to see her, experience her, and kind of be like, hey, maybe I'll go check out her old Stardom matches because she had some bangers in Stardom that people don't talk about. So
yeah, she had a following when she was in Stardom. She had diehard fans. Like that. If you were a Jungle Kiona fan, you were a diehard Jungle Kiona fan. That's how it worked, right?
Hello, it's
it wasn't.
Me.
It wasn't just like, oh, I like this wrestler. No, if you like Jungle, you
adored her.
Jungle. And I know a few people like yourself, I'm sure, that know people that love Jungle Kiona. So just the fact that she's coming back, doesn't even matter where she's coming back. The fact that she's coming back is enough for them to be like, yes.
Bro, I'm willingly flying back home to New Jersey for this. So I don't go back to Jersey for many things, but Kiona has inspired me to go back to my roots and be a Jersey girl for the weekend.
There you go. See, Jungle's making everyone she's inspiring everyone, and I think it's just I'm so happy that she's able to come back. I don't even care who she faces. I'm gonna watch all of them. Hopefully it's someone good, obviously. Hopefully she's wrestling if they announce she's facing Asuka, I'm gonna just die a little inside.
I feel like Masha Slamovich is fighting all the people who come over from Japan lately. She's the one. Well, yes.
Marvelous trained. It makes sense.
I mean, I wouldn't be mad if Willow Nightingale ends up fighting Jungle Kiona, but we'll have to see.
The few shows to do it. I'm sure she won't. I think she's announced 4 or 5 shows already.
Well, whoever's booking those matches, if you're listening, consider, if you will, Willow Nightingale, or make it fun. Let her have fun matches, please. That's all I ask for is fun.
Right. We want fun. I don't have to be.
We want Fungal Kiona too.
I don't need match of the year contenders. Just let me have fun.
Yes, let me have fun just for a little bit. We were match of the years in 2023. Let me just have fun for a little bit.
When she goes to Nomads, she can have those.
Yes.
Let her. She don't have to jump in. She don't have to fully jump into the pool. Just let her ease her way in, even, because again,
find a nice swim out, just dip her legs in, kick around a little bit.
Exactly. That's why it's so much fun. I'm so happy for all her mega fans.
Yes.
Right. Because the excitement, I knew about her coming back before some other people did. Okay, most people did, and I was just sitting there. I was just sitting there oh, this is gonna be an explosion when this happens.
And it's sitting on it. It's you want to talk to somebody about it, but you're I can't talk. I can't.
Oh my god, I did it because I know.
And you're just
I have friends, and I need to tell you. I can't, but I need to. You're gonna be so happy, and that's what matters. And
what is it? Just wait. Trust the process.
And then that's when they start ripping off questions oh, is this and this? I'm I can't say anything, but yeah,
I'm not saying anything.
I won't say anything, but again, it's awesome. It's awesome to see her back. Can't wait to see her in all these US shows. I'm interested to see what she does in this 3-month span, other than just the few shows we've heard her announced for, because she can do anything. She can go anywhere. People have brought
If
up maybe
somebody
she
books her
even.
in Orlando, please let it be a nice, safe, reputable promotion. Please and thank you.
Yeah. I was like, maybe she dips her toe in AEW for a show. You never know.
Would not be mad at that.
I'm sure there's plenty of connections to make that happen. Even if it's just Dark or Dark Elevation, just let Jungle Kiona shine wherever she goes.
Yes,
That's
please
what we
and thank
want.
you.
I'm sure. I'm positive Thunder Rosa's like, hey, Jungle Kiona's coming. Like,
come here.
Exactly. And Jamie Hayter too, obviously, because her Stardom connections.
Her versus Jamie.
Tony Storm. There's all these Stardom connections.
My heart, my 2019 Stardom heart.
I won't get anyone too excited about the possibilities, but you never know. But Karen, thank you so much for coming on here, talking for an hour and 30. I said to you, I'll do my best to keep it an hour. I knew it wasn't going to happen. Never going to happen. I don't think I've ever kept something to the perfect time limit, which might be bad, might be good, but you have a lot of places for people to hear you, to read you, to, all these things. And here's your Twitter, of course, for anyone that doesn't know. I'm sure if you're listening to this, though, you do know. But I'll leave that up as you do your many plugs, because I know you are a busy. Is that enough busies? Busy person.
Busy.
busy
body, baby.
Yeah. I think that's perfect.
Okay, well, you can find me on Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, and YouTube at Hey Karen Sensei. I also do Stardom and Joshi coverage at postwrestling.com. Every now and then, usually when the G1's not happening, you can find me Tuesday nights recording on Tama's Island, the Tama's Island podcast featuring Tama Tonga and Ross W. Berman IV. I am available now in print with Pro Wrestling Illustrated, both in the October 2022 issue with an interview with Hiroshi Tanahashi and a Cyber Fight Festival recap for the out later this month, November 2022 issue. And I think for now that's it. Maybe.
Perfect.
Come by my Twitter. That's where I usually promote everything, and then we can talk some wrestling.
That's the best part, right? That's what we all want to do in the end. We all want to talk wrestling. And of course, anyone that's watching, that maybe you're watching because of Karen, you can follow me here on Scott E Wrestling on Twitter. If you're watching this and you know me and you already follow me, you know that my interview with Miyu Yamashita just came out.
Let's go. Congratulations.
So check that out. Thank you. And next week, ahead of Stardom X Stardom, which we didn't talk about either, and ahead of more 5-star Grand Prix action, I have another interview coming up, but I can't say who, because I don't like to spoil things. That's the fun for me. But make sure to check those all out on Fightful.com. And yeah, that's it. So Karen, once again, thank you for coming on. This was a great conversation. And yeah, let's everyone go and watch some Joshi now. You listen to us, now go watch all the 5-star Grand Prix matches that should be uploaded by now, if I had to guess, because this comes out Wednesday. So there we go. Thank you so long. Have a great one, everybody.